Welcome. We are so honored to have two of Michigan's favorite senators, Senator Peters and Senator Stabenow, here with us today. Thank you so much for being with us. And I still can't believe that after all the decades of both of you fighting, and particularly you, Senator Stabenow, is 20 years ago almost, that fighting about lowering the price of prescription drugs, that we're still here today. But we think we're getting closer. And so we have a gift for you that might help us get to the finish line. But before we give you that gift, ARP has tracked for almost 2 years now the research regarding prescription drugs and the cost of prescription drugs and brain name medications in particular, and those often used by seniors. And it is absolutely amazing to us that still today someone can go to Canada and get Januvia, the diabetes medicine, for $255, right? We're here in the United States, it's 1,064. Or they can get Advair, which is used for asthma, in Canada for $212. And here it's 980. And Crestor, which is used for high blood pressure, $160 in Canada and $730 right here in the United States. It's also a bit bewildering, as both of you know, that 87% of Democrats and 85% of Republicans support allowing Medicare to negotiate for lower prescription drug prices. And we know also that almost 70% of older adults want Medicare to negotiate for drug prices. And we know that some legislation has recently been introduced or pending, allowing for the lowering of price of insulin. But we want all drugs, all prescription drugs, to be negotiated by Medicare. And there's one story I want to share with you, and then we'll open this up and let you talk about this, from Suzanne. And she represents so many other Michiganders who has to really fight in order to get the kind of prescription drugs that she needs. Fight in terms of what she's going to pay for, what she's not going to pay for. So, Suzanne, let's hear your story.
Hi, my name is Suzanne. I'm 59 years old and I live in Howell, Michigan. I take several medications, all of them generic but one. And that one is killing us, and that is my insulin. The price has gone from $21, and then the following year it went up to $278, and within a year it went up to $410. I can't afford that. My husband has to work past his retirement because we just can't afford to live. The pharmaceutical companies are preying on those of us that are sick. This is a life and death drug.
Thank you, Suzanne. And so, Senator Stabenow and Senator Peters, on behalf of the 174,054 Michiganders who are just like Suzanne, who actually signed a petition to ask Medicare to lower the price of prescription drugs, we are hoping that when we send these 174,054 signatures to you, that it will help your colleagues and others understand the dire need that's here to lower the price of prescription drugs. So we'll be sending those petitions to you today that are signed by Michiganders. There are a lot of others, thousands of others, who did not get an opportunity to sign. And we're going to turn this over to you to talk a little bit about this journey of lowering the price of prescription drugs and allowing Medicare to negotiate. So thank you so much for being with us today.
Well, first let me say thank you, Paula and AARP and Senator Peters, and I will look forward to actually receiving those petitions. That's really wonderful. And you're right, Paula. We've been talking about this way too long. And back when I was doing bus trips, the Stabenow RS Express between Detroit and Windsor, as you know, to demonstrate the lower prices, it was really simple. Canada negotiates prices, and we don't. We basically, in this country, have allowed the drug companies to decide what they're going to charge. And it's outrageous. It's gone on too long. Why has it gone on so long? Frankly, it's because they are the biggest, most powerful lobby in DC. I think there's something like 15 drug company lobbyists for every one senator. They spend lots and lots of money trying to convince people that the world will end if we aren't paying the highest prices in the world. The good news is we now have a President Biden, who strongly believes in what you're talking about, what your petitions say. And we have a majority in the Senate that does, and in the House. And we have obstacles to get through to be able to to get through this process to be able to get it all done. But there's not a higher priority for all of us in terms of lowering costs. We pay 3 times more for brand name drugs in our country than anywhere else in the world, and it's getting worse. It's outrageous. And I use the AARP numbers all the time that in the past 15 years, the price of the most common brand name drugs has gone up 300%, and insulin's gone up 800%. And insulin was actually created 100 years ago by 2 Canadian doctors who said they thought it was immoral if they made money off of it. And so they gave the patent to the University of Toronto for $1. And what has happened since then? It is immoral and it's outrageous. And so we are laser focused on this. And I would just say before turning it over to my partner that, as you know, we have a plan. I know AARP strongly endorses it, but we need to allow Medicare to start negotiating lower drug prices. We need to put in place a $2,000 cap, out-of-pocket cap for seniors in Medicare Part D. We need to cap the price of insulin at $35 per month. And we've got to penalize drug companies who raise prices faster than inflation. We got to get our arms around this and bring some accountability to it. So I'm going to pass this over to my partner who I know cares as passionately about this as I do, Senator Peters.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Senator Stabenow, and thank you for your amazing leadership on this issue for so many years. And Paula, thank you for your leadership in the AARP for leaning into this critical issue. And, as Senator Stabenow mentioned, these large price increases that we are seeing with drugs, it coincides with record profits for drug companies at the exact same time. So clearly, these prices are not warranted in terms of production or research and development when you have companies with record profits that are engaged in stock buybacks as opposed to making sure that everyday folks can actually afford their medication, which is why we have to negotiate these prices. We have to have Medicare act like every other big business negotiates. If you're a big customer, you can negotiate a lower price. There is no bigger customer than the federal government. And in fact, the Department of Veteran Affairs negotiates. We have a department within the government that negotiates drugs. The VA pays less for drugs than everyday folks throughout the country because the negotiation is not allowed. That's simply unacceptable. We're focused on it. I strongly support this. We're going to do everything we can to get it across the line. And I just want to bring up another issue that we're working on as Senate Democrats right now, which is some supply chain issues that have actually impacted prices. I did an investigation as chairman of Homeland Security and Government Affairs of drug shortages that we see in this country. In fact, hospitals every week have to decide because of a drug shortage what kind of replacements they're going to use. And oftentimes those replacements, they tell me, are not as effective as the drug that's in shortage, and it's more expensive. So you're getting hurt 2 ways because of these shortages. And the reason for the shortages, we're over dependent on foreign manufacturers to make these drugs. In fact, 80% of all the precursors that go into nearly every drug that we use comes from China. We are beholden to the Chinese. We need to bring that production back to the United States. Those have to be American workers. We can't be dependent on any foreign country. Clearly, as we get through this pandemic, we know how dangerous it is to be relying on other countries for critical medical supplies, and we're focused to fix that as well. And what the end result will be, in fact, we've got some legislation that just came out of our health committee that's going to bring better transparency and bring some of that production back to the United States. And when we do that, that will also lower drug prices for everyday Americans. So we're trying to attack this problem from many different ways.
I appreciate you working so hard on behalf of not just Michiganders, but the entire country. This issue is not just a Michigan issue, it's throughout the entire country. What can we do? How can we help? How can people who are listening to this help and be supportive? I mean, we've got petitions that have been signed, but I know it's not the 2 of you. So what can be done?
Well, the reality is AARP is, a very major leader in this pushback. We wouldn't be as close as we are right now without all of your voices and AARP. So signing the petitions, getting your friends and neighbors and family members in other states to speak to their members of Congress, particularly the United States Senate. I mean, if we're going to get this whole agenda done, if we're going to get the $35 cap on insulin, for example, it's going to take 10 Republican senators joining with us, that particular piece. There's other pieces that we can do through the rest of it, which is because it's all incredibly important. But part of this, it just is not going to be able to get done under the rules of the Senate without Republican support. So if you vacation in Florida or Arizona, or know people in other parts of the country where there are Republican senators, this is absolutely critical. We get stuck. I mean, if it in order to do all of this, we're going to have some bipartisan support. We don't need every Republican, but we do need 10 to join with us to be able to get part of this done. And the way we stop all the big money on the other side is through voices, loud voices that are pushing and saying, we've had it. I mean, we just had it. This is ridiculous. And one other thing I will say to emphasize what Senator Peters said, they have all these ads on TV saying somehow we're going to lose research and development or choices on drugs and so on. You and I, all of us as taxpayers in America, pay for the majority of research. The basic research going on in this country is done with tax dollars. And then we give grants and support to the drug companies to implement it. So we're already paying. We pay for the research that is used around the world for all the medications. And yet we pay the highest prices in the world. And they try to scare people with these ads. And so don't listen to this. Don't listen to the scare tactic. Let's just lift up and say, we had it. It's time. It's past time. And we've got to get this fixed so we can bring down these prices.
We so appreciate you, and please don't let anyone parcel this out for just certain drugs. Let's get it across the board, not just insulin, but all prescription drugs. We can share story after story after story with you. So you have been warriors on the front line of this, and on behalf of Suzanne, on behalf of the 174,054 people who signed the petition, and those who did not have an opportunity, we say from AARP, thank you. Thank you so much for being warriors on the front line for this issue. We appreciate you.
Well, we appreciate you. Thank you. We're glad we're all joining arms in this cause. So thank you.
We need to do more of that. We need to across the aisle and everywhere else. We need to
absolutely.
Thank you. Have a
wonderful,
blessed day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
Thanks. Bye-bye. Hugs.